I had been very hungry, being without food and in an abusive relationship with my child's father. My pregnancy was not cared for well, I had no food and was being bullied/abused by the father. At that time, I had another child who was mine, only in months older than the one born, as I had the NDE. One day, while reluctantly driving to my unborn child's father to his drinking friends, I experienced intense hunger and the father denied us food. He instead bought himself a beer and forced me to drive. My young daughter sat beside me, asleep as I drove. There were no children's seats in those days. Suddenly, there was terrible pain. I could barely drive. I stopped the car. I was in fear as the father of my unborn child snarled for me to drive. I begged to go to the hospital, only 20 minutes from where we were. He denied me until he saw the blood covering my seat. I arrived at a clinic first, and then to the hospital, where they took my daughter from me. I begged her not to be left with the unborn baby's father. The nurses assured me and kept watch over her. In the delivery room, where I had never been before, was a table. I was placed there and given oxygen as they removed clothes. My baby was coming too early. I fearfully fought the mask. It was explained to me later that this was only oxygen, nothing more. I instantly floated above my body. Confused and in fear, I considered floating out the window, but turned and saw my infant daughter. The doctor and nurses were working to save her life. I floated toward her, reaching as I neared. My baby was beautiful. My arm and hand seemed extended in length, longer than normal. My extended hand went right through them all. I started to feel panicky. I tried to speak, but the doctors/nurses couldn't hear me. I watched my baby kicking her feet and moving her arms. I could hear her crying. My heart ached because I felt she was dying. In tremendous emotional pain and anguish, I floated outside the room to see a red phone in the hallway. A nurse was calling for special equipment. I'd never been there before and thought it was a payphone. I learned from doctors later that it was the hospital phone. Then I felt a very black mass, pulling me like a huge magnet, toward it. I moved faster as I neared it. I felt pure terror. I felt it was evil. It was off to the right side of me. I turned to the left and upward, screaming in my head without voice. Please God, help me. Please let me go back, I'll change, give me another chance, please. I need to go to my other daughter, pleading to return. The light enveloped me. I only sensed goodness within the light and returned to my body. The doctors began to explain, but I hushed them before they spoke. I explained all I'd seen and knew happened. The doctor said, my baby died, and presented her body to me. He pointed out clinical reasons she had died. Then he sent in another doctor who would want to document my outer body experience. During the funeral for my infant, it had poured for a couple days prior. Once my baby was lowered into the grave, the most incredible rainbow appeared. And it touched down directly into the grave with my child. The colors were incredible. All witnessing this, looked in awe and said, it was a sign from God.